Coach, you talked about Andy not having played as well as he could so far this season, but he looked great tonight. I mean, how much of an impact do you feel like he had, not just with 16 boards, but just the physicality he brought around the rim?
I thought he was the difference for our team, and I for sure think it's the best he's played. I think he played to his identity. I think that changes our team. I think he's tired of hearing me say what I've been saying. He's a beautiful human being, and to his credit and our team's credit, in a game that was not aesthetically pleasing offensively for sure, we hung around just enough. And a lot of that was because of Andy.
But what do you take away from this when you just said offensively you aren't as aesthetically pleasing? I know you made more turnovers than usual, and you didn't get to the foul line as often as usual, and all those things that y'all try to do to win, and yet you come out and win by double digits.
I think it says a lot. That's probably not the politically correct thing to say, but a lot of the things that we try to be good at, we weren't good at. Very high turnover rate. When you have a high turnover rate, you're not going to get fouled, and you're not going to get offensive rebounds. Statistically speaking, it's the best game we've ever had here defensively, and that's not aesthetically pleasing unless you just love ball. And I thought Coach did an unbelievable job attacking us and how we played defensively. I thought our guys were tremendous in defending without fouling. Least number of fouls we've given up in a Power 5 game since we've been here. The lowest DER since we've been here. A lot of really good things. I think they scored 20 points on putbacks. They scored 10 points off our live ball turnovers, which is not good. They scored 4 points off free throws. So that means they scored 10 points in the half court other than those three categories. So I think it's a credit to our guys.
14 turnovers in the first half. What was going on there?
We just were giving it to them. And a lot of those, I don't know how many of those 14 were live ball. We had 4 turkeys in the first half, 4 turkeys in the second half. And considering it was a 62 possession game and we gave it to them 18 times, that's almost mathematically impossible. So we tried to do a few different things offensively in the second half. Some of it was okay. It was better in regards to turnover rate. It wasn't necessarily better in regards to field goal percentage, but it did give us a better chance to get offensive rebounds. So
Pharrell kind of took over there late in the second half to kind of push the lead out. How impressed were you with him coming off the bench with that kind of energy?
yeah, he has enormous talent, and it's going to continue to come around, I think. He hasn't backed up a step in what we're asking of him on either end. Our guys have done a really good job of encouraging him and holding him accountable to what we want to be about. And I do think he was a great relief for us down the stretch, those last 6 or 8 minutes, to be able to have somebody to throw it to that might get fouled. Made 2 free throws in a row, I think the first time in Texas A&M history for him, which is good. And then those baskets were lifesavers.
Pharrell talked about just the energy and kind of hitting another gear in those final 6 minutes. Has finishing kind of been a point of emphasis for y'all?
Yeah, it was one of the things that I don't think that we did well the first game at Central Florida. We kind of keep a list of lessons and reiterate those lessons as we go when we're in the film room. And I do think that, to Gochi's credit, he has received everything we have said. The uniqueness of how we play, particularly defensively, is all new terminology. He's been tremendous. And Henry has solved a lot of what we were hoping from him in the first 3 weeks. But I'm hoping that as this thing goes, that the combination of those two guys, we played Henry some at the 4 in Vegas against Creighton. That was the first time we had done that this season because Solo is such a presence defensively for us. And so as we can continue to find consistency, not just from Gochi, but from everybody, that's encouraging.
I know you've said in the past that you don't necessarily like playing against your friends,
No.
but is there some special moments in having a guy back who create so many memories like in this building?
Yeah. So it's kind of awkward, like you don't really know, like, what are you supposed to talk about, and it's kind of strange. I will say this: it's only happened twice with Forbes and I, but we're very close. For 720 days, I was employed at Texas A&M. Our youngest son was born here, and I worked 719 days, other than the day that Mason was born. And Forbes and Alvin Brooks, along with a couple other guys, we were in there every day. And I'm not sure where you were at that time. Not that I was talking to the media, but they were 0-16 when Coach was hired, and he was back-to-back Big 12 Coach of the Year. I think the first year it was the largest turnaround in Division I believe. So I remember all of it. I remember all the players. I remember all the coaches. I remember all the stories. I remember it vividly because it was so hard. Antoine Wright was at our games in Vegas. Obviously, AC's the assistant GM with the Thunder. AK was on the team when AC hit the shot. Forbes' son was wearing a maroon wig. The cheerleader picks him up. The cheerleader is who AK's married to. And they have three. I lived it, and I don't mean any of it in a sense of arrogance. But Forbes left and went to Tennessee, and then 42 days later, I left to go to UNO. And Forbes has been through a lot professionally since he left College Station. And Forbes has been through a lot in the last 18 months personally. And I texted him this afternoon, and I just said, hey, I don't know if you look at your phone on game day. I don't ever look at my phone on game day. I said, if you look at your phone, just text me when you get here if you want to talk. And he's texting me as he's pulling up, and I meet him at the locker room, and just like immediately, we're not even talking about this. Maybe it's like your business. I don't know. It's just kind of hard to have friends in a business that's as competitive as this is. And so most coaches don't have many friends or much of a life other than their family and their work. And yeah, just to be able to talk to somebody, you want them to win every game, And then it's kind of awkward. Like, he knows everything we're doing. I mean, there's his game notes, like I know everything he's doing, and so there was a couple of NBA people here this week that have immense respect for Coach, and we're here to watch some of his kids, and they were talking about the chess that will be being played just because everybody knows, like everything he was saying to you guys, hey, we're going to flood, we're going to manipulate the weak side, yeah, I know. And that's cool, but it's not cool when it's your friend.
Can you point to anything that allowed Andy, Henry, and Pharrell to really ramp it up in the second half?
I think 25, I told our guys this a little bit more this morning. The more I watch 25, I think 25 is very effective. And 4 is ballyhooed long years ago, but 25 does a lot of good things, and the combination of those two required our 4. And I do think that Solo, Andy, Henry, Gochi, if they're all approaching their best, that foursome is really good from a forward position. And we kind of play Solo, swing him around a little bit more than that, but it was required. 25 and 4 were very effective. They had 18 rebounds out of their 33 and 11 of their 15 offensive rebounds. And they shot more balls than us, partly because we gave it to them so many times, but also because they beat us on the glass.
Y'all entered halftime, y'all shot 14 fewer attempts, 3 free throws at the line, and then 14 turnovers. Were you surprised you guys had the lead? And does that kind of give you confidence that despite all that, y'all still had the...
Yeah, that was kind of some of the, Carter, that was kind of some of the things that I was telling them at halftime. Like, if I don't have my glasses anymore, I can't see. And so I didn't have on my glasses. I'd put them somewhere. And so I was just telling them, what does that say? Tell me how many shots I have. Tell me how it turns. And so I'm kind of going through a lot of those things that you were just saying. And I was like, then what's the score? Like it's an outlier stat that we're winning the game. That you were going to give them the ball 14 times and they're going to shoot 14 more balls. Like that, even collectively in this game, if you just look at the numbers, we had to have a lot of endurance just to hang around. Now, I do think the one thing that helped us is our DER was .73, and we only fouled them 6% of the time. That's the lowest number we've ever had. So we were getting stops and not fouling, and that was, in some regards, if there was a needle mover, despite a game that had a lot of statistical outliers, that would be probably what I would point to.
You got, go ahead.
You talk about the statistical outliers, and you said that
Yep.
it's almost mathematically impossible to turn the ball over 18 times
I
in
know.
a 60 possession game. For lack of a better term, was this game just flat weird?
Yeah, it was just a tractor pull. Our ATO OER, this is a number we track. So coming out of a pause, whether it's your ball or my ball, down back, we were 1.23 OER, and defensively 0.46. And so for the game in those pauses, we scored 17 points and they scored 6. And we didn't foul. I kept thinking it would turn a little bit, and maybe we'd have a little bit of breathing room, but it never did. But we hung around just enough, just to be good enough to have the result we wanted.
You guys didn't make a field goal in the last 4 minutes, 33 seconds.
And I called both timeouts I called in the second half were media replacements, which is not what you want to do when you're struggling to score. You're trying to manipulate it as much as you could. I can't remember. I probably pulled it a little too quick on the 8:26 when I called the timeout. I think we had just got another offensive rebound. We had some. We learned a few lessons on that in Vegas, so I was trying to protect our team a little bit. And then at the 4 minute one ended up being at 2:56. Side out of bounds, 4.6 seconds. Is that right? Side out of bounds away from our bench. 2:56 on the clock. Up 6.
Yes. Yes, you called a 30-second timeout at 2.
That was the last one I had, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
But, it's been multiple times this season, it seems like you guys have gone through these real big dry spells, particularly in the second half. And, it didn't cost you tonight, but just how concerned are you that this is becoming a recurring trend? And do you have any feeling why that's been a recurring trend?
Yeah, we've been talking about it, and we've been actually watching it. Because I think sometimes players will, if they trust you, they'll tell you some things that'll help you as a coach. And so we've been very interactive in our film sessions. A little bit before we went to Vegas, it kind of started after Southern. I thought we were really, really bad in the first half against Southern. And so a lot of our conversations have become pretty raw and pretty transparent from that point forward, which has been really healthy for us. And our guys, their absorption rate of what we've been asking them has been as good as any team in the first week of December as I've seen in a long time. And I think a lot of it is because of the relationships that are on the bus. They feel comfortable telling us things that they believe would help us, and we're open to try to learn and be better too. So it's been a good marriage in that regard.